Welcome to Saints on Cinema. I am Tim Wild.
And I'm Josh Edlow.
And today we are here filming an impromptu video that was impromptu 2 days ago.
Very impromptu.
called
Ask Us. It's called Saints on Cinema, Ask Us Anything.
Ask us anything. And we had a couple of responses. Still getting some feedback, but this was last minute notice, busy weekend, 4th of July coming up and everything, and whatever. So we had a couple people with a few questions that were actually pretty good questions. So if we ever do this again, we'll give them a little more heads up, and then we can actually start filtering questions and pick the easy ones to answer.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's probably a good thing. Maybe next time. Maybe, and if this, see, depending on what this goes, maybe we make this a more often feature.
All right. So we're just going to dive into some of these until we get bored. So first couple of them, are we going to do shout-outs? We can do shout-outs. I don't remember who said them, though.
Yeah. Let's not worry about who said them.
Okay.
We want enough to
we're going to point fingers. If we get, like, rich and famous off of one of your questions, we'll cut you, like, a $10 check or something.
Nope.
All right. Let's start. Okay, this was Zach, so I'll say that one.
Okay.
Because Zach's seen us get heated, and I've had heated conversations with Zach, and Zach's observed me have heated conversations with other people, including Lance.
But I would say real quick. Okay, go ahead and ask.
We'll just say what? Because we're going to start the question.
So you need to get the question out.
Okay, let me spit out the question without interruption. What is your most heated movie argument?
So I would start by saying that I don't feel like we ever get heated. And what I mean by that is that when I think of heated, I think like we actually get angry at each other.
We hate each other.
I do get annoyed with Tim all the time for various reasons. But I don't really ever come out of any conversation I have with him and like get super angry about his opinions. I think that his opinions are wrong most of the time, but I don't get mad at him about that. He's just a simple person.
They're only wrong on the times that I have a difference of opinion on something that he's already wrong about. That's when it's wrong. So if you could follow that, lawyer face. Anyway, so that's the truth. But we've gotten into some discussions that were very controversial, and I don't mean politically. I mean stupid stuff about a movie plot that we're arguing about that actually inspired us bringing some of these conversations to you. And that's actually my answer. I think that the one thing that we had the most conflict in our argument was that's not the right way to say it. Was after we saw Creed, we months later, had a conversation over the phone, and the argument was we both agree that Rocky needs to die in the series. Rocky didn't die in Creed, but he came down with cancer. Like it was the flu. Yeah. He got cancer, and he was debating if he was going to have the treatment or not. And I really expected he was going to die in that movie. Obviously, he hasn't. He's about to reappear in Creed 2. I hope they kill him artfully and carefully. But the question was, we're not going to rehash the whole thing right now for you. We can do it another time if we want to. But the question was whether or not Rocky should die in the ring or if it'd be okay for him to die from something like cancer or something like that. I very, very, very strongly argue that he needs to die outside of the ring.
So just to preface that, I think what we mean by, or to like kind of clear that up, is not, I don't think he needs to die in the ring per se. I think he needs to die related in some way to boxing. So like, for example, in Rocky 5, if he were to die in the street fight, that's technically not in the ring, but I would have been fine with that.
But in a boxing situation.
Exactly.
I disagree with that.
That's
because,
what? Wrong.
Anyway, we'll just say our little opinions here, and we're not going to go into all the depth of what we talked about. It was like an hour plus conversation that we're like, and then another question came up, and then some conversations and feeds on Facebook happened that we just got really controversial, and a lot of people chiming in and everything, and it was a lot of fun. We're like, we should do a YouTube channel talking about it. It was a lot of fun, and we had very strong and well-informed differences of opinion, and I was right. I won, and it was all about, my point was just that the whole character arc of Rocky in every single movie was just, oh, you got to stop fighting. You got to become more than that. You know, Adrian and Mick, everyone was like, you can't do this forever. You need to stop for whatever reasons. Each plot had its own reason why you need to stop, especially the fifth one. We had brain damage. I love the fifth movie, even though everyone hates it. And I was like, that's the thing is like for him to progress, where in the first movie or second movie, he said, no, third movie, he said, I'm a fighter. That's what you married, Adrian. That was the third movie. That was not fight. Oh, that was 4.
That's right.
You suck. You're right. I was thinking of the beach argument, which had a very similar
right again.
Anyway, so he was. That's the whole thing. Whereas he's not just a fighter. Rocky is more than that. And they had a conversation about fighting on their skating rink in the first movie. In the second movie, when he was talking to Mick about his fake championship and everything. That was the third one. Okay. And then the beach conversation was another one. And then I'm a fighter in the fifth one. And then fourth one. And then, yeah. So that's what, to me, for Rocky to die of cancer or something bigger than a boxing match or just another opponent is going to show progression where there is eventually going to be an end to his life that isn't because of he's too stupid to not go in the ring. I think it's a failure in Rocky's final step in his life to die in the ring like Apollo Creed did. He's one thing, and he was a little wiser than Apollo Creed, even though he went and fought Drago in Rocky IV. He had a different mentality and a different motive behind it. It wasn't all this American arrogance and pride that Apollo Creed had. Rocky, yeah, his arrogance and American pride, but
American pride and
Creed's personal arrogance
and unwillingness to give up that he's getting up.
Yeah. Now we're seeing him older than Creed was in that movie. I'm gonna keep getting in the ring. I'm gonna keep getting in fights. I'm gonna keep doing that. It'd be dumb if he died. If he died in the ring, that's a total failure. That's it. That was my point. Okay. And whatever Josh says is wrong.
It all goes back to the same conversation that he seems to have in every movie, and most prevalent in Rocky IV, when him and Apollo are sitting in front of this big screen watching their first fight together. Or maybe it was their second fight together. They think it was their second fight together. And he says to him, that we're warriors, that some people are just warriors, and if there's no war to be fought, then the warrior might as well be dead. And we're seeing in the movies now that Rocky is struggling with that, and he has been ever since he decided to hang it up in part 5. He continues to have that problem, and he keeps going back to it in some way, form, or another. I'm not of the opinion that he necessarily needs to die in the ring now. My opinion is that he should have died in the ring in Balboa, and even there could be a great argument to be made that he should have died in part 5. And I won't go into the arguments for it because I'm not as long-winded as Tim. And when I say I'm not going to do something, I'm actually not going to do it. But Tim is wrong. I'm right. And, we'll save that argument for another time. But I would agree. I think that is our most heated argument is that. And I think slightly less than that is the order of the Rocky movies and, how they
great differences on which ones are better than the others in which order.
Yeah. So
that will be a video sometime.
Yeah. I think but yeah, those are the most heated arguments. But the thing is after we had those arguments, that's why I don't necessarily like the question, because I don't think we ever have heated arguments. I think they're very interesting discussions of people who really like and are passionate about film. And we're both very passionate Rocky fans. Some of us are more informed than others, but I mean,
some of us get the character better than others.
But that's not true. But hey, we like these conversations, and when people hear these conversations, they're intrigued. When we had Facebook conversations, we get a lot of feedback. So we figured let's give it a shot. It might be fun, and it's a way for us to kind of blow off steam from our regular lives
and rally intelligent people behind our point of view.
Yes,
to diffuse and defeat the wrong people. Okay. But that's I think so we both agree that was probably the closest we had to heat it. In all fairness, nothing wrong with the question, because Zach Marshu asked the question. He's, like I said, he's heard me in much more aggressive conversations with other people, mostly about episode 7. We did a whole channel on 8. 8 was 8. Sorry, the Last Jedi. Yeah. Okay. Well, I lose track after their serial.
Now there's been 11
or
whatever.
All right. So the next question we have: name an actor of our childhood who's now older that the world will not be the same after they've died.
Bill Murray.
Really?
Yeah.
Bill Murray.
Absolutely.
Bill Murray.
Bill Murray.
Right.
I think so. Think of all of the iconic roles he's done, and also not only that, but
iconic 3. There's maybe 3 good Bill Murray movies.
What are you talking about? Caddyshack, Ghostbuster.
Ghostbusters too. I saw Ghostbusters.
Okay. Groundhog Day.
Way overhyped.
See, we can't even have a conversation because we're so uninformed.
Uninformed or interrupted.
Yeah, both.
Yeah.
And his progression. I mean, he's gone into kind of more serious roles now for movies that are actually really well done. I think that his mode of comedy is great. And the movies that he's done have all been fantastic. He doesn't take bad roles generally. I don't.
What about Bob?
What About Bob was excellent. Oh, What About Bob was great.
Okay.
Yeah, and he changed. I mean, he was very instrumental in changing the way comedy was written. Him and
He
Harold
plays
Ramis.
the same character in every single
No, he doesn't.
movie.
Space Jam. He was funny in that. I mean, he's got some weird stuff.
Well, I think he takes himself way too seriously as an actor now, and I think he's way overhyped as the comedian that he used to be. I love him in Ghostbusters. He's funny in Groundhog Day, but I think that movie and that character is a little overhyped. But
and I want to give an honorable mention too, and that is I think Steve Martin is another one. That if we lose him, it's going to be different. It's never going to be the same because the roles that he does are perfect family movies, and a lot of the movies he plays kind of the same character and things of that nature. But he's one of those guys where his movie is never going to be your favorite, but it's always going to be one that you can go back and watch again and again and again with your whole family, and you're going to love it. So I think both of them are. And I'm talking about movie actors. I have another honorable mention when after Tim's done with his.
Well, I think with what you said about Steve Martin, I agree with that. And even Bill Murray, when I'm thinking about the question specifically said that the world will be different. Hollywood world, yeah. And the thing is it's not necessarily talking about which movies they're not going to be able to make after that. It's partly their influence on other actors and the way film is done and everything. I think Steve Martin is a really great example of that. There's a family tone and that old style, the classical comedic style of performance that in like Three Amigos and things like that you just don't have in movies today. And eventually when all that generation is gone, and some of them have changed a lot, like Chevy Chase, a lot of those it's a fleeting thing. I just had a couple of honorable mentions. If we're talking about movies and impacts that they have on people, inspiration that they have for other actors, and the impact they've had in the cinema in their lives. A few I thought of. Michael Caine. Yeah, I think that's going to be a drastic hit to Hollywood, ability. Gary Oldman. That's going to be. He's one of the biggest chameleons in Hollywood that you can't. There's nothing that he couldn't transform into for a role. And I think that's going to be a talent that's going to be extinguished forever. Well, to hit at his level, at his personal touch with it, it'll be gone. Dustin Hoffman is another one. Yeah, we'll never have another Dustin Hoffman. Yeah. And some of the characters that he's done would never be the same with anyone else. There's a lot of movies you can say that with the actors, but I think
but I don't know. I don't know if Dustin Hoffman is going to be as big of an impact as the other two that you mentioned.
I think to others in Hollywood he will. Yeah. Maybe. I think he's an inspiration and a role model for a lot of performers.
So I had
that wasn't my final. Sorry. Those were the honorable mentions as far as impact in the movies. But I think the one that the spirit of Hollywood that we're going to lose is when Arnold Schwarzenegger dies. I mean, a lot of people may disagree with him on politics, and he's become a lot more proactive and stuff like that. And I'm just talking about his being governor. But he inspired the dreams and the ambition of a lot of people, especially I think through the 80s. He was a foreigner. He could barely speak English. He had a few talents, mostly his build and his being Mr. Universe and all that stuff. But he applied that into the film, and it wasn't just I don't think it was all about money. I think enjoyed it. I remember as a kid watching him on those tours he was doing for doing fitness and health and stuff like that, trying to inspiring people and helping go into schools teaching how to do exercise and stuff like that. And a lot of movies choices he did, they're comedies, but there's always a good a meaningful message behind it that's a heartwarming touch. And then there's also he's Conan, he's the Terminator. He has such a variety of action, adventure, fun stuff that just hits all those genres. And then there's the fun back at home kindergarten cop style movies that he did that he just brought a personal touch to that couldn't be duplicated by anyone else. You couldn't put anyone else's John Kim would be the same movie. They just fell in love with this character, as proven by the sequel they tried to do. But I think that's just a spirit that'll just be drained for a portion after he dies.
He really did revolutionize the action hero role. I mean, he iconic in that way. There would be no Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson without Schwarzenegger. I mean, it's true. I don't know if I guess I don't know if I would. I don't know if you're right. Hollywood will never really be the same without him. I guess you're right. I just I don't see him as much of a. I guess when I think about it and I think about artistry, I don't know if I necessarily consider him as much of an artist as the rest. But you're right; it'll change Hollywood forever.
I think the whole world of Hollywood will have a little spark.
A couple other honorable mentions I was thinking about putting on there, but I didn't specifically because it was for a movie actor. Was Mel Brooks was somebody who I think when he goes, it'll be a big change, and
that's someone's inspired.
And I think one that has already kind of, it won't be the same just because of what's happened, but he's not really a movie actor, but he was in Hollywood, is Bill Cosby. I mean, he's, when he dies, I think his spark from Hollywood's already gone based on all the stuff that he's been involved in and everything like that. But, his wholesome family stuff, the Cosby Show was so transformative and so important in my childhood.
Groundbreaking for Black.
Yeah, exactly. He
pushing education, child values, family values, all that
and
stuff.
And just being a clean comic in an era of Richard Pryor and Eddie Murphy. I mean, he came before them, and they kind of decided they wanted to be the anti-Cosby. Yeah. But at the same time, like having a family-oriented comedian, in a time when things started getting dirtier, was very appreciative. And so when we found out, when I found out everything that was going on, it was a huge blow to me, and I think it killed a little bit of Hollywood for me. So
yeah,
but
I thought about Bill Cosby when I was reading that question, but I was like, he's a movie actor, but he is in the entertainment world, and that is a big, huge.
Well, he did make Ghost Dad.
Yeah.
So
good movie. I agree with that, and I think that you're right. No matter what people focus on, the good that happened or the good things that came out of the Cosby Show or even his stand-up comedy, whatever, because of what happened or because of what he's in jail for, what he's been prosecuted of, his influence and that spark has already been dimmed and extinguished and revoked from so many different people that have pulled back awards and airings of the show and stuff like that. So it's a tragedy. And from this related to this question, in the Hollywood world, that was one that's already been stomped, even though he's still alive. But all right, the next question. In one movie that's really bad, and everyone knows it's really bad, Josh, and you know it's really bad, Josh, but you love it anyway. You go first.
No Holds Barred.
No, I knew you were going to say that. No Holds Barred.
And you know why? Okay, first of all, I'm a huge Hulk Hogan.
Go and tell them what it even is. No one's heard of that movie.
And it's a movie where Hulk Hogan essentially plays himself as a guy named Rip, who's
he plays Hulk Hogan with a different name.
Yeah, basically, and he's a professional wrestling champion, and this network wants him to be involved in wants him to come to his network, and he won't do it because he wants to honor his contract that he already has. And so the evil executive puts together this battle of the tough guys thing in a bar, and this guy who's a murderer who just gotten released from jail named Zeus comes and wins the whole thing, and he's a monster, and he comes in and it all builds to this big fight between the two, and it was a complete flop, and by all like stretches of the imagination, it's a terribly made
bad
film.
Lines, bad writing, bad action, bad comedy, bad costumes.
Everything about it is bad. But the reason I like it is because that opened the door, in my mind. Like, Hulk Hogan is so transformative for wrestling in general because he is the first mainstream guy to make wrestling cool. Like people,
everyone knows Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, when you think of wrestling, Hulk Hogan, and younger people now will say The Rock or Stone Cold Steve Austin, but The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin will not have become who they are, or John Cena, who they were without Hulk Hogan. And Hulk Hogan entering into Hollywood got The Rock into a place where he could be on Saturday Night Live and become the Scorpion King and eventually become the new age Arnold Schwarzenegger. And you're seeing now John Cena is trying to break into that and may be the next guy to do that. And that's all because of No Holds Barred. And so,
even of itself, it's still a funny, entertaining movie if you can.
When I saw it, I saw it in the theater first day because I'm a huge Hulk Hogan fan, and nobody knew what to expect. You know what I mean? It was like, wow, they're making a movie, awesome. But anyway, I just watched it recently in the last month, and it was so fantastic to watch because it's so bad. Like, I'm sitting there by myself watching it and going, this movie is so terrible, but I love it. I don't care. So that's my.
I'll stand by that one. That's not my answer, but I think that's a phenomenal movie. And just think without that movie, we wouldn't have,
Suburban Commando,
Mr. Nanny, and all those great
Suburban
ones.
Commando.
No, I thought you were going to say when he transitioned. I thought you were going to talk about as an actor, like Tony. He never rose above no holds barred. But as a wrestler, yeah.
Although he was great as Thunderlips.
Yes,
he was great as Thunderlips.
That was his best performance, and he wasn't playing himself. He was a wrestler. Thunderlips was more of a change than.
Yeah, and also that was before Hulk Hogan was even iconic Hulk Hogan.
Yeah,
that actually got him into becoming Hulk Hogan. Yeah, so.
Okay, good. My answer is Popeye with Robin Williams. I think that is one of the best movies that is so terrible you can't even sit through. Millennials and people aren't exposed to it, don't even appreciate it. Even people that love Robin Williams can't watch Popeye and not be like, this is stupid and it's not funny. The music is like just sloppily done. The set is cool.
Shelley Duvall's cool.
That. Yeah,
perfect cast.
Great. Yeah, the whole cast is really good. The whole cast, the costumes are really fun, and the circus performers that came in to do the stunts on the dance routines of the citizens of Sweet Haven, really great, and it's fun to watch. But the video looks terrible. The audio is dumb. The story is it's like a 20-second comic strip, like a Popeye comic strip, stretched out into this hour-and-a-half movie with really bad musical numbers and stuff. It's bad. It's a bad, horribly done movie. But Robin Williams portraying Popeye and his interaction with Bluto, his relationship with Sweet Pea, everything and mostly everything he says under his breath that you can't even hear, that you just know was mostly Robin Williams just ad-libbing, just makes that movie one of the funniest things you could ever watch. If you are paying attention and you can just lighten up and just listen and enjoy it. If you put aside that this is such a bad movie and accept that, like I do, you can enjoy it as a bad movie. And I think that's probably the same lines as where you feel on the whole right. If you put it aside as this is a bad movie, let's set that aside and table that and let's just watch it, I can enjoy it. Popeye is horrible. It's a very bad movie and no one likes it, no one appreciates it except for people like in my family. But it's one of the funniest things you could ever watch. The script in that, his script is great.
So I would have to say that I watched it a couple of times growing up, and it was bad. But now, the way you're talking, I feel like I want to go back and watch it.
Did you watch it?
Just to see what you're talking about. I mean, I watched Zorro the Gay Blade, so why not?
Can't get worse than that.
True.
That's a bad movie too, but I can't defend that one as much as I can defend. As much as I love that movie, it's funny, but yeah. Anyway, okay, so the next question we have is, what is your favorite board game? My favorite board game, I'm just going to say, I love Life. I think Life is fun. I hate Monopoly because I'm bad at economics. It's kind of dumb. I can tell you the worst game in the world is Sorry, because Sorry is absolutely no strategy. It's just you could just play, and it's just whatever order the guys go. One person can play for 30 people playing that game. And they can just flip it over. It's the exact same thing. It doesn't matter.
Seems to go for it.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's just dumb. Sorry is dumb. But my favorite game is Clue, because Clue takes strategy. You have fun characters. The way you're interacting and working around, even pulling people into the rooms and everything, can be a fun social thing where you can mess with people and trying to figure stuff out. There is a little manipulation, a little poker playing, how you play off what you already have figured out and everything. That social aspect of it is just fun. It's not mean. You're not like just horribly just being mean to each other. It's like poker without having money or gambling involved. It's just we're going to use those same strategies in poker and gambling, playing against the player instead of just playing your cards. Only there's nothing at risk. It's just for fun.
So I have a funny story about Clue.
There we go.
So my wife and I got married 14 years ago last month. And we played a lot of board games together with friends and by ourselves. And we would play Clue quite frequently for a little while. We played it, I think, 5 times in like the first 6 months or something we were married. And I won.
That's a lot.
And I won every single time. And so I am a very competitive person, and I am a very sore winner. I like to let people know that I'm winning, you know. And so I was like such a jerk about it, and you know, just like, oh, look at that, won again, still undefeated, you know. To the point that she was so mad that she refused to play with me. We didn't play it for like a decade. And we had two friends we met, and they made us play, and I lost, and we haven't played it since. But she's like, no, I'm not playing. She wouldn't even play. She's like, no, we're not playing that. Like, come on, we got to beat him. And so I just kept getting it.
Is it mostly because she hated that you won all the time, or is it because of how you were such a sore winner?
It's because I was such a sore winner. That's what it was. Yeah, I was such a jerk, and it was funny.
I'm sure.
But okay, so
I can see that.
So my favorite game is Loaded Questions, and the reason I like it is because in a social setting. So this is a game. It's kind of like Apples to Apples, if you've ever played that. So it's a game where like basically you go around and somebody reads a question, and then everybody gives these answers, and then you give it to somebody, and they read the answers. And you have to guess who it is that made the answer, who gave the answers. And the reason I like that game is because you can play it a bunch of different ways. You can play it straight, like, you know, trying to win. But it's the same game where and I think this is why Chandra likes playing with me. It's a game that I'm okay losing because it's just fun to play, because you can just play it in a way where you're just being completely goofy. So that's
how I'm with Clue. It's okay to win or lose. It's fun.
No, it's not okay to lose that
game. All right, this is a good question. Who is the most important character other than Rocky in the Rocky franchise?
Okay. So
you first.
Okay. So I struggled with this a lot.
Tommy Gunn. No, I'm kidding.
Oh gosh. Okay. I think there are two super important characters, and I think they're of equal importance. And I feel like I know where Tim's going to go with this. And I don't think he's going to go the same way I am. I'd be surprised if he does. I'm going to say Apollo Creed.
You knew you were going to say Apollo Creed.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Either that or Adrian, because I think those are the two secondary important characters, but not the most important character.
Okay, well, I can only think of three that I would say were up in like the
Polly.
No, although Polly is a great character, and I think
he wraps some of the story. Yeah, he does wrap some of the story in the characterization of Rocky, but he's not critical to the story.
But I think Apollo Creed, in his transformation throughout the series, and even now going into Creed, I think he has a bigger effect on the story than anybody else, because it's Apollo Creed at the beginning that is the embodiment of what Rocky wishes he could be and sees as something that he is, you know, that he always wished he could be, and is the thing that's standing in his way of proving who he really is supposed to be. And then from there also, he's the guy who brings Rocky out of depression, and makes him who he, you know, makes him what Apollo Creed really was, what he always wanted to be. And then also informs, as Rocky is aging, what he still is and what he's trying to fight. And he continues to kind of inform that throughout the movie. But that dialogue between Rocky and Apollo Creed sums up getting older and what, you know, embodiment of what they are. Is they're warriors, and where do you go when you don't have a war to fight? And that's what Rocky's struggling with now in the movie. So
okay, I agree with everything you said, and you're right. And I didn't think about that. If you wanted to look at who is the most impactful character in the franchise other than Rocky, I would agree it's probably Apollo Creed. But the way I read the question was who's the most important character, and Rocky's the most important character. So who's the most important character to Rocky? I think that's Mickey.
Oh, you think Mickey?
Mickey,
really?
Not Adrian.
I would have gone with Adrian.
Yeah,
those are the
Mickey.
three. Those are the three. I think that you can't have the story without any, with all.
Well, yeah. That's a really angled question. But this is my thought on Mickey. You take your point with the first movie, Rocky. We could do an hour on this.
Yeah,
we really could. We'll try and be really short. But Rocky in the first movie, we really got to understand where he was in his life and kind of how he battles, how he deals with people and all that stuff. You watched him with the loan shark. You watched him, you know, with the business corporate people at the press conference and everything. When he was getting ready for the fight, when he got a shot and everything. He was very humbled. He didn't think much of himself. He was, I'm just a loser, you know. And he tried to talk to the girl about smoking or drugs in the party and everything. And no one gave him any respect. No one appreciated him, and no one thought anything of him. And he didn't think of anything of himself, including Mick. But it was Mickey who, even though he was a complete jerk to him, when he kicked him out, he took away his locker and everything. He wasn't going to invest any more time in him. His rejection from Mickey is what really made him think that, wow, that was the opinion that mattered the most to him. And that's what made him like really most depressed and prepared for when he got the shot, went back, and then Mickey shows up and he's like, oh, I'm going to come train you. And he's like, well, you weren't there for me. Yeah. And he lashes out on him. He rips him apart, and he's just so horrible and cold to him. And then Mickey walks out humbled, and Rocky runs out there. And I love how it's done. Quiet. You can't hear the dialogue. He goes, talks to him down the street, long range, long shot, hugs him, and then runs back like, oh, I made up. And I didn't get to hear it. And I love that. Yeah. But that's smart.
And that it's cool because that's something you always wish. Like, what did they say to each other? In fact, if I was like moderating a panel, that would be my question. What did Mickey say?
What did he say?
What did you say to Mickey?
Because Rocky had to humble himself. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that moment is like that inspired. And if you took Mickey's rejection and took him out of it, he still got the gig. That was the whole point. Apollo gave him a shot, but he would not have been prepared. What was his one goal? Just to go the distance. No one ever gone the distance with Apollo. That's what I want to do.
And when he's talking to him, when after Mickey leaves, and he's standing there at the door of his bathroom. He says, I'm going to get my face kicked in. Like he says that. I'm going to get my face
yelling at the door when Mickey's already long gone. Yeah. He just can't break out of such a good scene. Yeah. If you haven't seen Rocky, go watch Rocky. But anyway.
If you haven't watched Rocky, why are you even watching?
Yeah. You shouldn't appreciate us if you don't appreciate that. Anyway, but that was the first one that sparked him, and he would not have been prepared. He wouldn't have gone the distance. He wouldn't have impressed the judges. He wouldn't have built him self-confidence for the second movie and continue that. Then he had the fake trophy or championship for a little while in Rocky 2. No, that's their 3. Sorry. Rocky 2, he had the battle, and Mickey's the one that tried to keep him focused, keep him like, you know what, you did good. Let's not push our luck. You're blind in one eye and everything, whatever.
Well, that part was in 2.
That was 2. That's what I'm talking about. I went back to 2. Right. So in 2, he was there. He stood by his side, and with his support, that meant everything. But when Adrian was in her coma, that's what sucked him down where he wasn't gonna be ready. Then you jump into 3 where Mickey dies. Spoiler work, I guess, 40 years ago or whatever. So when Mickey dies, that crippled him, and he lost the fight, and he wasn't ready. But he was able to go on with Apollo to train, and he hadn't developed up to that. Apollo couldn't have done anything with him if he had met him in the first movie and started training. Nothing. But because of what Mickey developed him as a person, that's what he said. I want to teach you to be successful, not just in the ring, but in life, whatever that line is.
Sure.
He prepared him for that, so he was in a place where he could bounce back because he had already bounced back in the 3rd movie, and then he came back with Apollo's training and beat Mr. T or Clubber Lang.
So go ahead, finish your
and then the 4th movie, he went on. But the thing is, when he's dead, Mickey's dead. But think about this: when he went to Russia to train, and what's his name, the ball guy comes up, he says, "You already know what to do. Just do it." Like he's like, I'm your support. I'm here to facilitate a little bit, but you already know what to do. That wasn't just Apollo. He knew how to, and then look at the training stuff he's doing. That was all stuff he was doing in the first Rocky montage.
He goes back to the basics. Yeah.
And then when he's almost down and out in the 5th movie, remembering Mickey, you say, "Get up, you son of a."
Yeah. You know what's funny?
But I think just the influence that he had on Rocky as a character, I think that he was the most. If you remove that, Rocky wouldn't be Rocky.
So a little Easter egg for you. That scene, Rocky 5, when he gives him the cufflink with the boxing thing on it. If you go back and watch Rocky 4 and you watch the scene when he first gets to Russia, he's wearing that necklace.
And in the shower.
In part 4?
Uh-huh. Or in the 5.
Or in 5 at the beginning.
Yeah. He's wearing it. Right. I thought that was just a prop piece when they filmed that part.
Yeah, but in part 4 he's wearing it too.
Because he never showed that conversation before.
Yeah, so I think that I think that Mickey is important. I think Mickey, Adrian, and Apollo Creed are all essential to the.
We could both probably randomly draw that name and argue it very well.
And I think that the one thing about that I think I would disagree with you on, just in what you said, and it's a very minor point, is that I don't think Rocky ever sees himself as a loser. I think what he sees is he hadn't reached his potential. He never really thought he was a loser.
In the first one, I felt he was a loser.
I think at the point where he's there, he's starting to think maybe I really am a loser. Yeah. But I think the reason that is and the reason why Mickey was so hard on him, I mean, he says it in his little thing, he went to loan sharking, is he saw his potential and realized he hadn't reached it. Yeah. And he finally had the chance to reach it when he got the shot with Apollo. I mean, it's apples or oranges. I think that Apollo's, these are like, we're talking like not even a half a step difference between them. So.
And again, if you took it even with Mickey, without Apollo Creed in the story, there would be no Rocky story without Apollo.
Right. Apollo.
But Rocky in that story wouldn't be Rocky without Mickey.
Yeah, no,
that's
true.
The way to say that.
True.
Okay, I'm praising myself. That was a good thing you said, Tim. That was brilliant. Yeah, very insightful, Tim.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. That's about what it is. But that was a good question. Okay, let's go fast. Anyone, if we could have anyone on the show, who would it be? Now, I assumed that was whoever's alive as a celebrity or whoever we wanted. I would want my best friend, my ex-partner, or my ex-zone leader, Josh Edlow, on the show.
Oh
no. That's the baggage that comes now.
That better not be your answer.
So we would want to do this as 2 answers really fast. Someone that's alive that we have on the show, but also if there's someone that's dead or from the past that's dead, have them come back. If we could interview them, talk to them, it'd be really fun to have their perspective. I'll give mine real quick. Number 1 alive, Mark Hamill. If we could have Mark Hamill on this show, I think he's one of the most sought after people to talk to. I mean, he's not always. Oh, he's very entertaining. I've seen live panels with him. I've been in the same room as him before, but hearing his perspective, especially with everything that's going on with Star Wars, with everything going on with Star Wars, everything that's happened now with Luke Skywalker, and just everything else about Batman, it would be fun to talk about a lot of different things. I would just love to have a one-on-one conversation with him, and just, oh my gosh, just to shake his hand, give him a hug Luke Skywalker. Can you imagine? Well, now I can. Okay, now I'm done. Anyway, that would just be a dream come true and be so fun to talk to him without having to hear interviews and manipulate what he had to say. Just to have a direct conversation with him and hear what he thinks about certain things. I think it'd be freaking great. And then from the past, I think it would be so cool to have Red Skelton on the show.
That would be interesting.
With the era of entertainment and the good qualities and the amazing goodwill that went into entertainment in Hollywood and talk shows back then. And there was political stuff ebbed in there as well. It was a totally different take on America and entertainment, and it just one of the most happy and just positive and optimistic and patriot loving people you've ever met. Having him here to talk and just have his take on what's going on in the world and in Hollywood today would be just amazing to hear what he thinks.
Okay, so I think if I were going to pick somebody that I wanted to, I have two for each because I just couldn't choose, and I have different reasons for them. So if we were to have someone who's still alive now, obviously Sylvester Stallone would be like the guy I'd want most.
Just talk about Rocky.
Actor. Well, not just Rocky, but Rambo. I'd Stop Where My Mom Will Shoot. And a
lot of questions, deep cuts on that one.
And a couple other things I'd like to do, but mainly Rocky. Some really deep from the creator of the entire series. And then another person I would like to see, and I think part of it would be because he's just so interesting to me, is Kevin Smith. I'd like to have Kevin Smith on because
we will someday. That's my goal. We will have Kevin Smith
because I think Kevin Smith is a fascinating person. I think he's got a lot of interesting insights, and also what he's done in film is so revolutionary.
Yeah.
I mean, Clerks was something that was and I'm not recommending anyone watch it. It's really dirty and really terrible, but it's
all of his movies.
But it was
for a lot of our clientele. Don't go watch Kevin Smith, but you can.
But Clerks was so funny and just so well done. I would love to have him on.
He is probably one of the most successful indie film. I mean, as far as the spectrum of influence he had on regular people, stoners or just geeks or whatever. He was making cool things about geek movies and superheroes and comic books and stuff long before it became popular and acceptable. Yeah. And he didn't care. And he represented the people that were.
And he's probably very integral in making it cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other the people from the past, I would say I'd love to have Pat Morita. I would love to have him on, and I would like Robin Williams. I would love to have Robin Williams on. And just to get some insight, there's so many movies that I'd love to talk to him about. Mrs. Doubtfire, Toys.
Toys.
Just because it was an interesting.
How did they really shrink that room playing Tetris?
The genie. Hearing about that, and also I want to know why. Why he did what he did. Get some answers about that. I think
teach him about the plan of salvation while he's here.
Maybe, yeah. That would be so. So that, yeah, that's what I would.
Okay. Okay, here's another one. Fast answer. What would you sing on karaoke night?
Madonna's Like a Prayer.
Like a Prayer?
Mm-hmm. And people who've known me for a long time will know why.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good song. Mine was You Spin Me Round by
Baby Right Round.
Right Round by Adam Sandler on
by Adam Sandler.
Wedding Singer. No, I think that's just one of the funny. If I was thinking like it would be a fun song to sing, but also in a karaoke situation, I have a different answer if it was a shower. I have a different shower song than that one. But if I was in a room, everyone can chime in and sing that one. It'd be freaking a lot of fun. That's a really good group song that anyone can sing at the drop of a hat, and it's an energizing, really good song. So anyway, so there's that one. What else would our show? Josh, you go first.
Politics.
Politics? I wouldn't be on your show.
Yeah.
Not your show, just a show about politics.
Well, I would want it to be one. There's the shows, most of the shows, particularly on the mainstream media, are very much way too extremist one way or the other, and they're too skewed. I have my own political beliefs that tend to skew a certain way, but I think I call both sides out on their bull crap all the time. I hate the extremists on both sides. I think it drives me nuts that they can't listen to each other. And I would want to put together a show where intellectuals, and there are many of them on right now, and it's becoming more popular, and there really is a need for more of it. Having highly intellectual discussions from people on both sides that are not argumentative and don't reduce to name calling, so that everyone can really hear the arguments on both sides and come to a logical conclusion on where they fall and understand why people really want. Because I think if you get your best arguments, like in my mind, I have my own very strong beliefs on things, and I feel I can support them well. But the reason is because I've actually had conversations with people on the other side who are intelligent and don't just call you a snowflake or a bigot or whatever on what other side you are. And it makes my argument stronger because it makes me polish my arguments better because I'm contesting with somebody who really knows what they're talking about.
For the record, I'm on the other side of his stance, and I'm not one of those people who's talking about that have influenced or polished his opinions because of my.
But you should.
We've talked about stuff, but I'm just not that.
He's not as
inspirational and whatever. Okay, did I answer that one?
No, you didn't answer.
What was the question again? I know I did. That was like 10. That was your whole monologue ago. I know you're gonna give a speech about politics. Oh, what would the show be about? I want to do a feature on Saints on Cinema where we're doing a feature called Discussions with the Dense, where we take someone that has no comprehension about a certain franchise or a movie, or where, like, let's say you didn't know anything about G.I. Joe, and we wanted to talk about the G.I. Joe movie, and you could ask questions from a totally ignorant standpoint, right? And you're like, I want to understand. I'm like, well, why is that here? Why The Rock plays with Roadblock? How's you, whatever. And have some people that know a lot about it explain it to you. Whenever there's a Spider-Man movie comes out, I have to ask my brother a million questions because I don't get Spider-Man. I don't know Spider-Man. I know a lot about this geeky stuff, but not as much as like everyone else I know. So I'm the dense usually. I would be the dense person in the discussions with the dense. It's not derogatory at all. But taking movies out of it, I think it would be fun to do an entire show called Discussions with the Dense or something, just talking about geekness or geeky things like sci-fi or Dungeons and Dragons or comic books or superheroes, whatever, where you take people, have someone like me who knows a little bit to ask the right questions, and then have people who know a lot about it explain those things, and then get into some little, debates and stuff like that, and just talking about it in general.
So on the show, then you are the one who's the dense
I could
one.
be, yeah. It would depend on the topic. If we start talking about G.I. Joe, I wouldn't be the dense one. I'd be the smart one. If we're talking about Superman, I would be, one of the specialists. But it depends on the person. It'd be fun to have a kind of a panel that different people know more or less about different things, and each whatever the subject was for that episode, a different person would be the dense one asking the ignorant questions, not in a rude, making fun of them way, but just there because there are a lot of people in the audience who wouldn't know everything about everything we talk about, so they'd be enjoying us talking down and explaining and simplifying things to someone that didn't understand it as well.
That's actually a really great idea, because there are so many things, like, as I've gone to a lot of school. I've gone as high as you possibly can. I'm an attorney, so I've gone all the way to law school. Well, I'm not trying to say, I'm just saying I've
You're educated.
I'm educated.
Very educated.
And I feel like the more educated you are, the more you realize you really don't know very much at all.
That's a gospel principle.
No, it's, and there's so many topics that I wish I knew more about. Like, I would love to sit down with a NASCAR fan who like really knows it and be like, tell me why I should watch NASCAR. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I do.
Or just explain it. Let's watch a race and help me understand it. I would be that way with soccer. Soccer is like the most popular sport in the world.
Oh, I agree.
I don't get soccer. I don't understand it, and I'm sure it's more entertaining than I can see. So it'd be fun to sit with someone that loves it and explain it. You know,
I know lots of people who like it. I've tried.
Yeah,
I just can't.
Now, lots of different topics. It'd be a lot of fun. But if we were doing a movie not about, we're going to do, you know, when we get around to, or when we get to more, you know, guests on the show and stuff like that, I want to do a feature discussions with the Dents. But I think that would be a fun show talking about a variety of things. But for me specifically, what is interested me is nerdy stuff, geek stuff, movies, combos, stuff like that. So yeah, that's what we would do. Let's do one more. Let's do. I don't know. Do you want to do the high school one?
Yeah.
Cut this. Which one? Both?
Yeah. Let's do the high school ones. Those are
important. All right. Important.
I think they are.
Okay. Well, I'll go first because I'm not going to have these amazing things. But okay. So, what is your biggest high school regret? Well, I just go back when I was going through high school.
I hope so. It's a high school regret.
What I'm saying is I don't regret it afterwards. Back when I was still in high school, watching Boy Meets World. And in Boy Meets World, they graduated the same year I graduated, which changed because in the early seasons, they had an assignment on graduating in 2000, but they actually graduated in 98, which I did. Anyway, at the graduation episode, they had Topanga was the valedictorian, but she was supposed to give her speech, and then she had Sean come up and give his speech instead. To me, when I watched that, I was like very emotional because I was approaching my graduation. I was like, you know, that's what it really came down to. Not just studying and doing better on homework and everything, but just in the high school experience, I could have done better. And I just saying, I don't have like a specific story or some regret or, you know, something embarrassing that happened I wish didn't happen. Although I had a lot of embarrassing things happen, and that's what made me who I am. And I was very liked in school. I wasn't like really super popular, but I had a lot of respect and a lot of friends. I don't think there was a single person in my high school that was an enemy by the end of my years, because I fixed bridges and stuff as I became more mature and got involved with the gospel and everything. But I would say if I could do anything or change anything, my biggest regret is that I just didn't do better. Just being more involved, you know, playing sports, getting engaged in activities, talking to people, not being so shy, not just, you know, cluttering up with my friends and being like an outcast, just being out there and just experiencing high school. I really wish I could have just been more engaged, not just scholastically, just in overall. There's a lot that you benefit from high school. That was my biggest regret. Is just I could have done better, been more involved.
Yeah, that makes sense. My biggest regret, I think, is I let too many people decide things for me at the beginning, and so I missed out on doing things that I probably would have enjoyed doing more if I just would have made my own decisions. Like, you know, a good example is, you know, my grandfather was a music teacher, and I had a lot of respect for my grandpa. And my mom and her aunt did music, and so they wanted me to do music. And so in middle school, I did music, and it was easy. It came easy to me. I played the trombone, and I didn't necessarily like it or enjoy it. I never practiced a single day the entire time I was there. I just went to class and did things and went on, and they were easy A's. And so when I got freshman year, of course, I needed to fill my 2 electives a year with band, and I didn't because I didn't have the room for it, and everyone wanted me to do band. And the same thing with sports, you know, like I felt I would have been pretty good at pretty good at football or wrestling, you know. But my dad was a basketball guy, and I enjoyed basketball a lot. And we had Matt Barnes on, you know, going to our school, and so I did basketball because that's kind of what everyone expected me to do at 6'7". You know, they wanted me to play, so I played, and I enjoyed it. I had fun. I had great camaraderie. I still talk to people who were on my team, and I think it was a lot of fun. But I think I could have done other things, and I could have done football and basketball, but there was kind of a thing like I should really focus on basketball, and I did. And I don't regret playing basketball. I just, you know, I could have done other things, you know, different. So that's it. I wish I would have kind of, and then later on in high school, like as I got to be about, halfway through about junior, senior year, I started making my own decisions and stopped caring what other people wanted, and things kind of worked out better in my mind for me. And also, I'd say the other thing with that is taking it too seriously. I mean, I think the next question that we're going to talk about, I'll kind of inform that a little more. But high school is,
you can miss out on a lot by taking it too seriously.
Yeah, like looking back, hindsight being 2020, there was a lot of stuff I took way too seriously that I think I would have had a lot better time if I would have realized how kind of much of a joke it was.
Yeah.
So anyway,
and there's a lot of things in high school that don't exist after high school, and those, when you're in high school, seem to be the most important things and the most difficult to deal with on a day-to-day basis. And that leads into the last question, which is kind of my answer. The question is, what advice do you have for high school students now? My biggest answer to that, you got to be yourself. And when I say that, I don't just mean be yourself, like just be you, and you is okay. You're not broken, you're not damaged. That's like a movement in the world now, and that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about people in high school. It's such a difficult social environment that there's so many dangerous and bad things and bullying and everything, which is a huge extreme from what we experienced when we were in school. But it's all about perspective. It's all about people's they're dealing with their own pain and forcing it on other people, and people just intolerance for everyone, or fighting or having negativity about any stupid little thing. When you take all of that and you let that determine who you're going to be, and you start acting a certain way or behaving a certain way in situations, or hanging out with certain people, or doing certain activities because of impressions or influence of other people, you're not doing what you want to do. You're not being who you really are. And I'm not saying you shouldn't respect other opinions. You shouldn't be guided by people or influenced by righteous influences and things like that. You shouldn't, especially, you should pray and get inspiration from the Lord on what you should do with your life as well. But you got to be true to yourself, and you can't let other people or any circumstances determine who you are. And I think that's the biggest thing. I think if people were more free to be themselves and comfortable being themselves, there'd be a lot less damage done that causes shootings and bullyings and depression and anxiety that carries on and doesn't get healed until like even after college sometimes. I think it's a dark world that kids are in now socially in high school. That doesn't have to be that way, and it's not that way for everybody. I think it's just a matter of people are either insecure or they're just deflecting their own pain and suffering on other people that cause a lot of the difficulty. And if you could just relax and be yourself, then you can just have a good experience in school and just be productive, and thus successful, and thus productive to society. And that's what school is all about.
Yeah. Before I go into that, echoing on what you said, you mentioned you're not saying just be yourself, like, oh, you don't have to change for anybody. I think that change is kind of a part of life. You're constantly changing and growing. So I wouldn't say you don't have to
you can control yourself too.
Sure. And it's not, you can be you have a specific, everybody's an individual and has a special part about them that makes them unique, and you should honor that, but you should always try to be the best person you are, and by doing that, you have to change. But I think the best advice I would have for high school students is exactly what I was saying, and that is that don't take yourself too seriously, and don't take the experience too seriously. When I think I was a sophomore in high school, and I was struggling with something that was, in hindsight, was kind of ridiculous and not. A lot of things that happened in high school shaped me into the person I am, and so I don't necessarily regret anything. But at the same time, I was taking it way too seriously. And he looked at me and said, "Josh, he goes, this place is really such a joke." He goes, "This whole experience is so kind of worthless." And I was like, "Well, what do you mean?" He goes, let's just look at grades." He's like, you could barely graduate high school, go to community college for 2 years, and then transfer to Harvard if you get straight A's over there. He's like, and he was like, "I'm not saying that you shouldn't try in your classes and try to be the best at what you're doing, but what I'm saying is that this whole experience here doesn't really change anything." And it's interesting because some of the people that I know who have such great, I keep in contact with, I still live in the same town that I lived in when I was in high school, and I see a lot of the same people who haven't moved. And there are some people who are stuck in it and are just, they haven't been able to get, they peaked. And like, I kind of started adopting that later on in high school, where I'm like, I don't care what you guys think. I'm just going to do what I want to do. And I have a plan for where I'm going to go, and that's what I'm going to do. And it's worked out for me. And so, you know, I would say just don't worry about, you're in this bubble in high school. And it's not until you get out of high school and you look back at it that you realize that all of that stuff, there's so much better stuff coming ahead. You know what I mean? Like all that stuff that's going on in high school is just, I mean, it's really stupid stuff. You know what I mean? I mean, it really.
And it's not that it doesn't have. It's not that it's meaningless. So like, just don't worry about anything. I mean, those are difficult things when you're actually in high school. There's a lot of hardships, heavy emotions, and that's part of maturity and growing and pushing through all that to come out the other end. You know, able to just stand up for yourself and just be content and be happy and just realize it's okay.
I think a big part of that is when you're in high school, you don't have like the self-confidence that you need. And, you know, I think a lot of what people get offended by and why people get upset is because of that. Like we're so self-conscious, and that goes on even past high school. People are so like self-conscious about things that they get super offended at things that don't, you know, that don't really hurt you. Like, does it really matter what the head cheerleader thinks about your outfit? You know?
There's a problem with that.
Really? Impressive.
Senior law.
Okay. Well, we'll have to share about that off camera. I want details. No, I'm just kidding. So anyway, but that's my opinion. And the other thing is that you have to just remember that grades and stuff. You know, I consider myself to be somebody of average intelligence. I don't think I'm smarter than, I mean, like I said, I'm an attorney, and I bring that up, and everyone goes, "Oh, look, you're a big attorney," blah blah blah. I don't think of myself as.
You're 6'7". You are a big attorney.
Well, I am physically big, but I guess what I'm saying is that you really can do anything you want to do, and you can be whoever you want to be, and don't worry about it. Just keep trucking through.
How would you gauge my intelligence?
Do you really want me to answer that question?
No. All right. Well,
I would say that Tim is actually pretty smart. He's a smart guy.
Anyway, yes. All right. So those were great questions. I think that's what we can agree on.
Yeah. Okay. So real quick, because I got really deep and like non-movie specific, I want to ask one more question that we'll answer really quick that has to do with movies, and it's something that I want to do a whole episode on, but I don't think we can. So. And then this will be the end of our whole thing.
Yes.
Okay, Tim. So I know you are not necessarily an Adam Sandler fan, but I think everyone who is Adam Sandler fans agree that Happy Gilmore and Billy Madison are generally the funniest Adam Sandler movies of all of them. So my question is, other than those two, I usually say, what is the third of the Adam Sandler movies that you would put right next to those? But I know you didn't necessarily like Happy Gilmore because there's something wrong with you. But other than those two movies, what would be your favorite Adam Sandler movie? And I already know what mine is. And maybe we can get some comments from others.
I just need to pull up a list of what they are, because we had a conversation about this one time.
Okay, well, while you're looking that up,
I just got a list. Hang on.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Can we count 8 Crazy Nights?
Yeah.
Okay. Then I'm going to say 8 Crazy Nights.
Really?
Yeah.
That's surprising.
I think 8 Crazy Nights is, well, I just had a list because we had a conversation a long time ago about, I hope I didn't freeze. We had a conversation a long time ago. We were just talking about lists of actor movies. I just had that posted still. But we just had a list of the movies. Mm-hmm. I like it because of, I love musicals. It has great songs. It has a great message, and it's about a guy he plays Adam Sandler, and the character is Adam Sandler. Yeah. And the character, the ending, the big climax at the end about what's the little guy's name? Whatever is it? The weird. That's gonna kill me. But anyway, the little referee guy that he's sitting there. The whole song was about him. I can't think how the song goes. Whatever. The mall, and they're singing to him, everything. It just warms your heart. The relationship with him and his girl, how he adapted, he couldn't deal with triumph and everything, or the trials of it, he lost his parents and everything. dealing with everyone in town. Everyone, can't stand him. He's obnoxious because of how he's reacted to circumstances in his life. At the end, he's still a great guy, even though he's kind of a jerk to people. Yeah. A public nuisance. But
that's most
good heart of gold. And that's Adam Sandler's, how he writes the characters. I don't know him well enough to know if that's true. But I think that's one of the most well-rounded.
Was that a Happy Madison?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that counts.
So I have a funny story about that movie, real quick. So when that movie came out, one of my friends and I, we wanted to go see it, but we were kind of apprehensive. We're like, is that going to be good? I don't know if it's going to be good or not. So
I didn't think it was going to be.
So we looked up a review, and the review just was so bad. But it said in there, it goes, this movie's terrible. You shouldn't go see it. I mean, the only people who are going to like this.
It was like Sins on Cinema.
Yeah, the only people who are going to like this movie are people who just like love poop jokes. And I was like,
there's a lot of poop jokes in that.
And I looked at my friend and I go, this sounds like it's right up our
alley. Go
see it. And we did it. We liked it. We thought it was funny. Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah. I love The Wedding Singer. I think it's great.
Especially the opening number where they sing, "We spin you right round, be right round."
Right. I think The Wedding Singer is, it's very close in my mind to the to Billy Madison. No. Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore in hilarity. I did not like it the first time I saw it. I went and saw it in the theater and I thought it was kind of dumb. But then as I looked back and watched it and saw some of the nuances and the 80s references and kind of got more respect for it, the Boy George character to the Love Stinks song to, him living in his mom's basement.
Gonna grow old with you song.
Yeah, or like when he's like, take that shirt off before when you curse the band and they break up, which is wearing the Van Halen shirt. All those little things. It's a great movie. So I think
I need to watch it again. I didn't appreciate it either when it first came out. I did later buy both CDs. It had a really great soundtrack on 2 discs, or on 2. You had to buy them separately, 2 different parts to this soundtrack. And the day after I got back from my mission, we went to Salt Lake. Went with my brother after I was released the night before, and then I brought my boombox in my car, and that was the first song I listened to. My first real music, worldly music, after my mission was "We Spin You Around."
Nice.
From the Wedding Singer soundtrack, that version, and that was just a lot of fun. And I played it over and over and over just to break me back into the world. It was awesome.
And I also think the song where he's singing the song he wrote, that he wrote half the song before he broke up with his fiance, and then after he broke up with his fiance, and it turns to like a really nice Cure song to like a "I Want to Kill You,"
hard rock song.
Yeah, that's
a good one.
So,
all right. Well, there's a little bit about us in this. What was the name again of the speaker?
Ask us anything.
Yeah, and thanks for asking us anything. And yeah, maybe we'll do it again sometime. We'll see.
So if you have any comments or anything or questions that you wish we would have answered, go ahead and comment below. And it was fun. I had a good time.
And for all the things that you think Tim was right and Josh was wrong, tell us that below. If you had the contrary opinion, we don't want to hear from you.
Apollo Creed. Unless you want to say Adrian and you tell us why she was the most.
If you think Adrian was more important than Creed or Mickey, whoever my choice was, you could make a good argument for that.
No, I do. I think you could make all 3 of them.
But anyway, so sorry this was so long. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you actually sat and watched it, and like, share, subscribe, whatever. If you actually watched this, I can't imagine you didn't already subscribe or already like this before, but whatever. Share this video. Tell us your thoughts in the comments below about why I'm awesome and better than Josh.
All right. So for Saints on Cinema, I'm Josh Edlow.
Yes, he is. And I'm Tim Wild. We'll see you next time. It's starting. Now it's going. It's live. No one can see us right now. But it's live.
It's technically not live then. Okay.
All right. Are you ready, loser?
I was born ready.
No, you weren't.
I didn't take 45 minutes to write down my answers. They're all right.
Oh, speaking of which, where are my answers?
Not looking at your answers. I don't care what your answers are. They're all wrong anyway. Yes.
You're wrong.
I know my answers. They're not important enough to remember, then they're probably not right. This is what I have to deal with all the time.
All right. Are you done stalling?
I have not stolen.
Are you done stalling?
I've been ready, and you just like. let me check and see if somebody responded with an answer. Let me check if should I turn off my hair. I mean, you gotta go blow dry my hair. Give me 45 minutes so I can pick my answers.